When night falls and silence takes over, it feels like everything we tried to hide during the day suddenly decides to show up. Thoughts get louder, the heart tightens, and the mind fills with questions that have no answers. That's when rest becomes more than just closing your eyes. It becomes the soul's cry for peace. There are moments when the body lies down, but the spirit is still restless. And it's not just ordinary insomnia. It's like something inside is calling out for comfort, for direction, for a kind of relief we can't always explain. The pillow becomes a confidant. The room turns into a space of reflection, and the heart, it just wants a break from the chaos. God is my refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. That's when something greater steps in, something that doesn't depend on logic or perfect answers. When words fail, the Psalms speak. When the mind gets tired, the scriptures hold you up. There's a kind of rest that doesn't come from sleep, but from the deep certainty that someone greater is watching over everything, even when it all feels out of place. The truth is, nighttime always carries a certain weight. But when we choose to lie down, trusting, letting go of what we can't carry on our own, the darkness doesn't seem so frightening. Because right there, in the stillness, promises remain unshaken. Words bring calm. There's a hope that never sleeps. How many times have we tried to solve everything before going to bed? Trying to predict tomorrow, replaying every mistake, every detail. And still, nothing changes. The anxiety stays. But when we finally understand that God doesn't need our anxiety to act, something shifts. The heart begins to realize that there's a time to speak and a time to simply trust. You know that verse that says, "In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." It's not just a beautiful phrase. It's a real promise. It's like a daily reminder that there's no danger greater than the care God has for us. Sometimes we just need to stop trying to understand everything and simply rest, even if the situation screams otherwise, even if logic says there's no way out. Because faith doesn't walk with the eyes. It walks with a heart that has decided to trust, even without visible guarantees. When you lie down and hand every thought over to God, something changes inside. It's not magic, it's presence. It's like He's saying, "I'm here. Sleep in peace. We'll continue tomorrow." And that, just that, changes everything. Because knowing He's present is the best cure for any restlessness. You don't need all the answers before you sleep. You don't have to fix everything before sunrise. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is simply resting in the truth that God is working, even in your silence. So even if today was a hard one, full of doubts or pain, don't carry it with you into bed. Let it go. Talk to God. You don't need fancy words, just be honest. He understands. Even what you can't put into words. The night might feel long, but it won't last forever. The pain might be strong now, but it too will pass. And while the day hasn't come yet, there is a God who doesn't sleep, who doesn't grow tired, and who continues to hold your life firmly, even when everything feels too dark. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes with the certainty that you are not alone. There is a presence caring for every detail, wiping away tears no one saw, hearing sighs no one understood. And when a new day rises, you will wake up different. Because those who rest in Him wake up with hope. If you believe God is with you, leave an amen in the comments. Se quiser, posso adaptar esse texto também para narração em vídeo ou transformá-lo em formato de roteiro. É só pedir. There's something about the night that uncovers what we try to hide during the day. As soon as everything gets quiet, the noise inside starts to grow louder, and no matter how tired the body feels, the mind refuses to rest. That's when the soul starts to whisper things you didn't know were still there. Fears, hopes, questions without answers. You try to shut it down, tell yourself to stop thinking, maybe even distract your head with music or scrolling through your phone. But none of it fills that space inside. It's not about sleep anymore. It's about needing peace, needing comfort, something deeper than rest. Something that reaches the part of you that nobody sees. Some nights your thoughts become thoughts. Too heavy. You lie down with a heart full of weight you didn't even realize you were carrying. Worries about tomorrow, regrets from yesterday, that constant feeling that maybe you're just tired of pretending everything is fine. And yet, you keep it all inside, like silence will somehow fix what's screaming inside you. But there's a stillness that isn't empty. It's not just the absence of noise. It's the quiet where something holy happens. That place where your spirit feels small but seen. That moment where, out of nowhere, a verse comes to mind. Not because you were trying to remember it, but because God knows exactly when you need to hear it. Be still and know that I am God. Not just poetic. It's a command, wrapped in comfort. Like someone putting their hand gently on your shoulder and saying, "It's okay now. You can stop trying so hard." That kind of stillness is where healing begins, where anxiety slowly loses its grip. You weren't made to carry everything alone. That pressure to figure everything out before falling asleep, that wasn't meant for you. Somewhere along the way, you started believing you had to be strong all the time. But strength isn't always pushing through. Sometimes it's letting go. Sometimes it's laying everything down and saying, "God, I'm done trying to control this." You can close your eyes with the weight still there and trust that it's not your job to solve it all overnight. Because while you rest, heaven moves. While you breathe, slower, peace settles in. Not because the situation changed, but because your heart shifted from fear to trust. The truth is, peace doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from knowing that the one who holds the answers never leaves your side. Even when the night feels long. Even when you can't feel anything at all. He's still there, watching over you, speaking softly into your silence. You might not hear an audible voice. You might not wake up with everything magically fixed. But what you will have is a heart a little lighter, a sleep that felt like surrender, a sunrise that looks a little more like hope than it did yesterday. That's what trusting him in the dark does. It doesn't take a lot, just a moment of honesty, a breath, a whisper, maybe even a tear you don't wipe away. God isn't far from that. He's closest to the brokenhearted, to the weary, to the ones who think they've reached the end. And it's in that space that real rest begins. So tonight, give yourself permission to stop fighting. Let go of the weight you've been holding. Let your thoughts slow down, not because you've figured it all out, but because you've decided to trust the one who already has. And as you do, may your soul find what it's been looking for. Peace that doesn't make sense, but feels exactly right. You're not alone. Not in the night, not in the silence, not in the wait. You're being held, watched over, gently led into the kind of rest that goes far beyond sleep. And when morning comes, you'll rise with something you didn't have the night before: quiet strength, renewed hope, and the reminder that God never stopped being near. Some nights feel endless. You lie there, staring at the ceiling, waiting for your mind to give you a break. But instead, it keeps spinning, circling the same thoughts over and over again. The past, the future, the things you should have said, the things you wish had gone differently. It all plays like a loop you can't shut off, and maybe no one around you really knows. You smile during the day, do what's expected, hold it together. But when the night comes, that's when the truth shows up. The ache, the questions, the feeling that maybe you're not as strong as people think. And that's okay. You don't have to be. Because the night, as heavy as it feels, can also be sacred. It's when the world quiets enough for you to hear what really matters. It's when the noise fades and your soul starts whispering its deepest needs. And if you listen close, sometimes you can almost feel it. God leaning in, not with judgment, but with compassion. He sees the things you keep hidden, the thoughts you're too ashamed to admit out loud, the moments when your faith feels too small to hold on to. He doesn't back away from that. In fact, that's exactly where he steps in. Not when you have it all together, but when you don't. You might think your worries are too messy, too complicated for a prayer. But prayer isn't about perfect words. It's about real ones. It's the sigh at the end of the day, the tear that slips out when you think no one's watching. It's that quiet, desperate, "Help me," whispered into the dark. And he hears it. Sometimes we want God to answer us with thunder, with clear signs, with instant solutions. But more often, he speaks in quiet ways, through peace that shows up out of nowhere, or strength you didn't think you had, or a verse that echoes in your heart when you need it most. That's him. That's grace in motion. Psalm 121 says, "He who watches over you will not slumber." Think about that. While you try to sleep, while you wrestle with thoughts, while the world goes dim, God stays awake, not because he's distant, but because he's near. He guards your night like a father who never takes his eyes off his child. So no matter how deep the darkness feels, you're not walking through it alone. You don't have to figure it all out tonight. You don't have to hold the whole world in your hands. Let yourself be human. Let your heart rest, not because the problems disappeared, but because you've placed them in stronger hands. Some of the most powerful moments of healing don't happen when the sun is shining. They happen in the stillness of the night, when the soul is raw and heaven feels close. That's when God does the quiet work, restoring, renewing, reminding you who you are and whose you are. It's okay if today broke you a little. It's okay if you're tired, uncertain, even scared. God isn't asking you to be perfect. He's asking you to come to him exactly as you are, messy, tired, honest. He can handle all of it, and he welcomes you with open arms, even in the middle of the night. Let yourself breathe deeper tonight. Not because you've found all the answers, but because you've found someone you can trust with. The questions. Lay it down. Every fear, every pressure, every unsaid word. Let the silence be a space where you're held, not abandoned. And when sleep finally finds you, may it not just be physical rest, but soul-deep calm. A knowing that you're seen, loved, and safe, no matter how things look right. Now, that's the kind of rest only God gives. And it's already reaching for you, even in this very moment. There's a kind of tired that goes beyond the body. It settles into your bones, into your thoughts, into the places inside that people don't see. And when night falls, that kind of tired becomes louder. It's not just about needing sleep. It's needing something to soothe the soul, to silence the noise that won't stop echoing inside you. You've probably had nights where closing your eyes felt like a risk. Not because of nightmares, but because your mind wouldn't let go. It holds on to every worry, every unfinished conversation, every mistake. It loops them over and over like a soundtrack you can't mute. And in the middle of that, you ask, God, are you still here? That's not doubt. That's a heart reaching out. That's a soul needing reassurance that it hasn't been forgotten. Because when life gets heavy, when your chest feels tight from things you can't fix, you need to know that someone stronger is holding it all together, not from far away, but right there with you. And he is.